Hi team, welcome to your sort of next case assignment here, where we're going to look at credit card retention analysis. Hopefully you found the video. In terms of learning objectives, we're again going to work extensively in Excel early on to both clean some data up, think about proper formatting, build out some pivot tables and charts, just so the executive team can utilize that if they want, right? A lot of people raised on spreadsheets, they like it. Then we're going to transition into Tableau, and we're going to keep up sort of working with both an exploratory and explanatory dashboard set in Tableau. So we're going to utilize lots of tools there. We do have kind of a unique type of data for this one that maybe a lot of you all haven't seen yet, at least in a visualization sense. I'm betting that you've seen it in your statistics sense, but it does make life a little bit harder on the visualization side. So I wanted to show one of these where we have to be kind of creative. Um, like always, I'm hoping you're getting the feedback and applying it. We're spending more time on thinking about visualization standards, proper formatting, making sure visuals look clean, consistent, effective. And so building that into our visuals are what we'll do. In terms of due date, check out our learning management system. By the time you see this, you'll have the due date on there. Late submissions will be accepted at 48 hours. After that, um, I won't accept them, right? They're 10% penalty per day after that. Let's talk about the company. So our company in this case is Horizon Financial Services. It's a mid-sized financial institution. Financial analytics, financial consulting, stuff of that nature is very, very popular at the moment. And so it's an institution, HQs in Phoenix, and we're serving sort of southwestern US clients with over 50,000 active card customers, right? We've built this reputation on personalized services, competitive rewards programs. We offer multiple card tiers, so we offer blue cards, silver cards, gold cards, platinum cards. Like a lot of companies, to meet a bunch of different needs. And you can go ahead and open up the data that we're going to work with. The first tab doesn't really help us. This one's got unique names, so I have a data dictionary here. I then have sort of basic financials that we have, and then some client demographics. We don't have any location data on these people, so we won't be able to use maps. We'll have to be maybe a little bit more creative in that sense. Really what we're worried about is customer retention. Over the past 18 months, we basically have found out that attrition is a big time problem. And we need to figure out more about it, right? Especially with our data. So our preliminary analysis suggests that it varies, but we want more clarity. And so as we go through here, the most important, right, variable that we're actually going to look at is this attrition flag, right? We've got existing customers versus attrited customers. Attrited means that they've left us and aren't using us anymore. The reason being is customer acquisition in the credit card industry is expensive, right? Industry average is around $200 to $300 per new card holder when sort of factoring in all the marketing expenses, promotional offers, onboarding, blah, 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 blah. And the research indicates that it's between 5 to 25 times more cost effective to just keep our current customers and going through that piece. Even something as small as a 5% reduction could be hugely beneficial for us. And so the financial service industry has increased competition from fintech, all these things, and we want to make sure that we're on kind of the top. And so how are we going to do it? We're going to leverage data to help us out. That's where you come in. Your role as a data analyst, right? You've been engaged really to help with three things or three different phases, the way we're going to kind of work through it. So phase one, data integration and preparation. First off, we always got to get the data ready, review it, understand it, learn it, clean it. And we're going to pay really close attention to detail. It's going to help us later. And then we're going to do some summary analytics and visualizations using pivot tables and basic charts from there that maybe we can use later on. We're kind of pulling out our insights. Then we're going to explore the data, right? We want to learn more about it. And so we're going to jump into Tableau, clean it up, and then we're going to build some interactive dashboards or a dashboard that will allow executives to explore and yourself, right? So it's going to help you for phase 3. So you're going to build that piece. I have the specifics below. And then you're going to go through, you're going to synthesize that sort of exploratory findings into a focused explanatory visualization. This is meant to, right, sort of look at, take away a key point, and make a recommendation off of it. And so, again, it's going to be singular. If you want to do multiple, you can. This dashboard communicates specific, something that they should go through and do, pay more attention to, get more data on, things like that. To help you throughout this, I've gone through and I've provided some very basic questions. You don't have to answer all of these. It's just things to think about. So which segments exhibit the highest, could say, or lowest attrition rates? What behavioral patterns different customers who leave those first, who's remain? How do transaction patterns, utilization, engagement relate to retention? Notice the key theme. It's all about retention. Are there early indicators or factors that we can use? Which card categories are experienced the most or least? It'd be useful to know. How do demographic factors interact with these kind of patterns? And so thinking about these questions will be important in how we kind of shape our visuals up here. All right, in terms of required materials, first, hopefully you have Tableau and Excel. If you did that first tutorial, you'll have had this piece. And then the other piece you need is, well, the data, right? And I already showed that to you, so it should look like this when you open it up. I'm going to go ahead and save it. That way it's consistent when you see it. Again, later you're going to submit the visual on your profile here. Otherwise, the data that we're going to work with is going to be across these 3 sheets. And we're actually going to consolidate things to make it a little bit easier as we go. So once you have that, how are you going to be evaluated? What do you need to do? Number 1, follow along with me. So a lot of things that I'm going to do, I'm going to show you in Excel. That's where I'm actually going to spend a lot of my grading in terms of what I do. I'm not going to expect you to do anything else in Excel. Now, component 2, this is all you. So demonstrate your analytical skills by creating one distinct exploratory dashboard and one explanatory dashboard, which I discuss, or I have the criteria right here. Within that tutorial, I'm not going to build a dashboard that I want to see from you, right? I may start one and just say like, oh, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, but it's going to be hideous, and I don't want you to see it. I want you to create your own. And you're going to build your own exploratory dashboard and your own explanatory dashboard. And so this tutorial may be a little bit shorter, but the work required on your end will be more. In terms of the requirements, I have the exploratory. So for this, I want at least 3 visuals, and you're required to have filters for gender, education, and marital status that filter all the visuals. So I can look at all of those. Design for data discovery, pattern identification, I can play, right? It's got maybe actions on there, maybe very limited kind of call outs, things of that nature. It's interactive. It does meet the quality standards. So I have these. I'm not going to talk through them again because you've seen them a bunch of times. Then I want an explanatory dashboard, right? This is 1 or 2 visualizations. That's it. I want no filter. And if there is some interactivity, that's very, very limited, because I don't want them to play. Or I could say, or 1 for customer status. If you wanted to do like attrition, you could do that one. Limited interactivity, clear narrative structure with some insight, some focused message based upon the visualization that you kind of see. I have the quality standards. Both are very, very important, so make sure you do both. You're going to link these via either a button, right? Either a button or through the utilization of a story. It's up to you which one you use. If you do use a button, I want it to be clean, professional, polished, in that kind of sense. In terms of deliverable for the assignment, again, you're going to do it. Same as you're probably getting used to these. You'll submit it to your Tableau public profile. I'd like to see the exploratory dashboard first, and then get me to the explanatory, because let me play and then what the key finding is. Then you'll put it in that Excel file and you'll submit that Excel file to the appropriate folder, the data visualization project 3. Any questions, post to ask your instructor, email me, anything like that. But for now, let's jump into the Excel work. So let's pivot to Excel here, team. And we're going to do a couple things here that I'm hoping that one's going to make our dashboarding life a little bit easier. And it's if people are forced to work into Excel, they can do it, right? So we're going to kind of play around with maybe some new features. I'm going to advance a little bit in Excel and kind of go through the pieces. So again, I need you to follow along with me here and replicate, and then I'm going to give you just a little bit of to-do work. Most of the to-do work will be in Tableau when we kind of pivot that way. But first thing, obviously the first sheet is where you're going to submit the Tableau portion of it. The second piece here is a very kind of quick overview of the data. So it's our data dictionary. The second one, we have our client card financials and demographics kind of sheets there. And I've already talked about the assignment overview, but I would spend some time, pause this video, and just read through these various pieces, just so you know or understand your data in that kind of sense. What we're going to do first is let's just clean things up. So I kind of have two goals. I want to get everything on one sheet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this and just put like financials and demographics. And then I'm going to put my goal is I want all of these factors, copy and paste right here and just move them over. Before I kind of jump into that, let's just go through and clean things up. So I'm going to hover across. Hopefully this is kind of second nature now. Double click so things kind of fit. Some of this is kind of ugly, so I'm going to do kind of my formatting. I'll do kind of more traditional, the kind of gray kind of pieces. And then I don't love kind of all the white space because it takes up a lot of the area. And so what I might do is I'm going to go over here on this column, and then I'm going to make sure that this is kind of a little bit wider. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow it to wrap text. And so you got to be careful with this because some people hate it, some people like it. So I'm going to go up here into the Home tab, select wrap text. And it automatically, you can kind of see, is wrapping the text. So then I'm going to go through, and all right, I may find things. So this, I don't want to do anything, but maybe card category. You got to be careful because things will get cut off. So I kind of like that one long, but like months on book, I may try and get it so that it's something like this. I'm going to go ahead and just center things. I'm honestly just going to center everything, which for some people they're going to hate that, but for me I kind of like it. Same thing, I may go through and just do some very, very basic stuff just so it looks a little bit kind of cleaner, and later on we may modify these things just a little bit. I do again like to keep things on one line if they are a word, so figure out kind of what you like best on that piece. Let's see, as we go through, now I want to get things across. Again, I'm just kind of formatting these the way that I really like. This piece, category. And again, I may kind of play around with it later just to get it to maybe something a little bit cleaner. But I like that kind of piece. I selfishly really like bottom borders. Borders can get out of hand quickly. So I try and use them minimally until kind of the very end, but I do like that kind of separation. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the data over, and I'm going to only do it with one command. So I'm not going to format this because I don't really care about it. Yeah, I'll format it just so we can kind of see it as we go through. But I want to bring these variables over, and you've seen this before, but again, I want to work smarter, not harder. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to start with equals X lookup. If you don't have X lookup, you should download the new version of Excel. And so again, I want to do this number ID, comma, well, where is it? Well, it's on the demographics somewhere in column A. and then comma, what do I want back? Well, I want the customer's age back because that's under the age column. And I could quit there, but again, I'm a little bit of a control freak, and you can kind of see here, I have some optional things that I've learned in the past that I want it to kind of make sure it displays everything. The reason, again, that we're using XLOOKUP is also because I could order it by client number, but then what if I don't have matches? Then I'm in big trouble. And you'll see that as we get into messier, uglier data. So I just like to do XLOOKUP because it's kind of the safest. I will do these optional options, so the things in brackets, so I'll do comma, if not found. I like in quotes n/a because I'm asking it to return a word. And then comma, I always tell it exact match mode. I don't care the search mode, which way it's going, so I'll go ahead, I'll close that parenthesis, I'll hit enter. Hopefully I find something that makes sense for customer age. Now, I really don't want to write that command 5 more times, and so I'm not going to. If I know how the logic in here works, I can drag not only to the bottom, double click, but I can also drag to the right. And so as I kind of think through here, do I ever want this A2, if I drag it right, to go right? No, I do not. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Shift 4. I'm going to put a number sign up there. So that means if I drag it horizontally, I notice my letters, it doesn't move. It always stays. Now, do I want the number to count down as it goes down? Yes, I do. Right now, do I want my first column to ever change? Well, no, I don't. And so for some, so you need the dollar sign before both. If you're on a PC, I believe F4 works. Notice it put the dollar signs in there. You may have to do the function key F4, so FN and then hit F4, or just do the dollar signs before and after the letter. And then, so that's where it's going. It's looking up, again, on client demographics. I don't want to click over there because it'll mess up things. But it's looking in column A. And it's always going to look for that number in column A of the other sheet. And then what do I want back? Well, do I want column B to drag across? And note there's no number here because it goes down all the way to the bottom. And I do, right? So I want it to move to C, to D, to E, because that's where these columns would be. And so I would go ahead and enter. I would click back on the cell, go to the bottom right corner. I would drag across. All right, I get things that I really hope seem reasonable. All right, marital status, education level, dependent count. Those seem reasonable. Then I can drag across and then go through, double click down. I make sure these things look good. I will click into the data and hold control or command and then down on the arrow key and make sure it went all the way to the bottom. That's a big kind of mistake. I see sometimes it doesn't all the way go to the bottom. All right, but once I have this, I don't want that X lookup in there anymore. So I'm going to drag across. I'm going to hold Control or Command C. And then for PC people, I know that I can either right click 1, 2, 3, the drop down 1, 2, 3. If you get better with your keyboard shortcuts, Control Shift V is paste values. And so find whatever method you want and make sure that you can get to that kind of piece. And again, that's kind of bug me as you go across. And then I have all my data on one sheet, and it looks relatively nice, so I don't need this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete. All right, and again, if you have the XLOOKUP in there, this is going to go away, so make sure you're done. And we're going to save often, save often, save often. I'm always going to check to make sure that works. I should have done this before. So I'm going to throw on the filter. So I'm going to click somewhere in this top column. I'm going to do data, filter. And then I started with age. I'm going to click the drop down. It looks a little bit different on Macs and PCs, but always go to the bottom and just see if there are any NAs. And if there are, that's not a bad thing, but I would want to kind of look at them and just to make sure. Now, I know that this data is relatively clean, and so I don't have to kind of worry about it, but that's how I would kind of do it in that kind of sense. A lot of things you could do here. You could do like text to column splits and stuff of that nature with the income categories. I don't think you need to do that for this category. I just want to talk through various things. Let's see. Now it's just, again, if I'm going to ultimately have an executive looking at this, I do want it to be a little bit maybe cleaner as we go through. And if you go through and you go to our data dictionary, you may notice right? These may not be, I don't know, the most suitable. It kind of has like odd capitalization here. I may do something better or more useful. So I'm gonna just use old variable name. And again, I'm gonna try and push you to use as much AI as possible. So I'm gonna do new variable name. And you don't have to do this, but I probably would, just because these may not seem sort of intuitive. Use your AI tool of choice. I think we all get Copilot for free out of Microsoft. So I'm going to leverage Copilot. If you're not sure if you have it, search for it in here. Honestly, some of you all may have it. Sometimes I open Excel and I have it, and I don't have it here, so I don't really know why. Let me see if I open a new sheet. Yeah, it's right. Oh, interesting. I'm going to make a note to save this on a new file. Save new file. So what I'm going to do is let's just do file new. Let's see how fancy this thing is. So I'm going to pull Copilot in here. Dun, 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 dun. It may not be kind of chat body here in Excel. I want to make the names of these variables more intuitive / easy to understand for an executive audience. Come on, Gray. And you help. All right, so I'll paste in. I'm going to go back. It may only want to do this. It may not work in here, so I may have to cheat a little bit. Okay, it's kind of uploading. Let's see what this thing can do. And again, you can use something else. So old variable name, and then it has sort of a more user-friendly version. I like these. So these, you notice it doesn't have the underscores and stuff. And so what I would do is I'm going to do something like this. And again, this works. I did it on the normal Copilot. So I went through Copilot here. I'm sure that whatever ChatGPT also does it. But I want you to kind of, again, play around with it and be thinking through, is this going to work? Oh, no, it doesn't want to. I'm going to do Control Z. All right, so let's go just onto our new one here. I'm going to paste these. That's not going to work. Okay, so it doesn't want to turn it into a table. Let's see, I'm just going to create a data dictionary. Let's see if that'll work. It's interesting that I can't copy paste these out of a column because that really works usually. So I may just go, it may work, just I don't want you all to wait forever. Let's download the data dictionary. And again, I did this on Copilot and it worked a lot easier, but sometimes we have to go through. Right. And it created these for them, but we already have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy these, close, thanks, save, thank you, and then I will right click, paste the values that way. And if I like these, what I'll do is, which I do, I generally like them. I think they'll be a little cleaner for when we're in Tableau. Now, this may make your life a little harder in Tableau. If your variable names differ, that's perfectly fine. Just it'll be a little bit harder to follow, but I trust you all. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go across. I'm then going to right click. Make sure you copy them, and then I'm going to do this transpose option. All right, then it relabels everything, so it's kind of a little bit cleaner. I'm going to zoom out, so I'm holding control and using my mouse ball, hence why I really like a mouse. I will double click, something like this, and again, you may need to, looks like it got away from the wrap text option. So you may need to kind of play around with that kind of piece, but I'll let you, if you want to clean this up, that's perfectly fine. I just think that that's a little bit easier. The last thing I'm going to do is generally I like to have categorical things next to one another. And so I'm going to copy and move like all of these next to one another. And you can already see I've gotten a little wild with my borders. So what I'm going to do is, because these are in kind of missing columns, I'll show you a couple tricks. If I want to move things, I can Control or Command X, right click, and then you should be able to insert cut cells, and then it moves everything to the right of that, so it doesn't go over top of it, which is good. Then I can just take these, Control or Command X, because again, I'm cutting, I'm not copying. Then I know I want everything to be to the left of this. So I'm going to right click, insert cut cells. I make sure, so if I do Control Z, all right, tenure didn't go anywhere, so Control Y, I redo it. Then I just have categorical things over here, and my numeric things on the right, if that kind of makes sense. All right, I'm going to save, make life a little bit easier. I don't know why this is so large. One other like small thing I would do, let's select all of our data with the corner. Keep that, again, that's just a preference piece. I don't love M and F. I like male, female. So what I may do, and plus gender is kind of a politically loaded term. So technically, because in the data, I have only male, female, I'm just going to change this to sex, and then I'll use an if command. So equals if this cell, and if it equals in quotes the word or the letter M, I want comma back in quotes male, and then comma if that's not true in quotes female, right? And I'll close my parenthesis. Again, simple if command. This is the same thing like changing an alias or something of that nature. In Tableau, you could also do, you could create or generate a variable, but I like to do it in here. Then I'll go through, I will double click it down, I will make sure they match, I will hold control down, make sure it goes all the way to the bottom, right? And then I have to be careful here. I'm going to get rid of this. So Control C, Control Shift V, right? So it's values. And then I'll go back. I will then delete this. I will change. Maybe I want this to be client sex, but then I'll go in, I'll copy that. I'll do the data dictionary, and I will replace that maybe here. Paste. So I didn't copy it. Copy. I really just want the value, so I'm going to copy, and I go here, and again, I should be able to do Control Shift V, and do that. And I'll leave the kind of definition. Now, if you like that kind of right border on it, I would also do maybe a right border here. Oops, missed one. Undo. Let's do a border here. All right, again, we will save. And then the last thing we're going to do is build some pivot tables and then maybe a chart. So I want to let, if an admin wants to play around in this thing, I want to allow them to do that. And I'm just going to start with a pivot table because I think it's the easiest. And so I'm going to click somewhere in the data. I'm then going to insert and then pivot table here. All right, it's automatically set up. I'm going to put it on a new worksheet. I will do OK. All right, and so then, again, if you can't see this, you may want a bigger screen. I, again, recommend a second screen. I like to make sure that it's kind of tall and we can go through. Once you're clicked in it, you should see these new options. These are very important as we kind of play around in things. So getting comfortable with them now is really nice. So what I'm going to do is the whole thing really depends on customer status. So I'm going to bring that down to either row or column. I'll let you decide. I generally like rows. And again, early on, I'm just going to get to try and know this data a little bit. So it's weird. I'm actually going to bring that same variable up from the top down to values. And it starts with count. It starts with the long name because it is numbers, but I'm just going to click in here and change this to N. And then I really don't like row labels. So this may be where I would replace this with customer status. And then that I would want bold. This I would want just maybe total, something of that nature. And then I want to make sure it fits. If you get clicked off of this and this window doesn't pop back up, that's called our field list. So make sure you're clicked in the table and you go to there. I don't love this drop down. It lets you kind of filter. Mac people may not see it. I'm going to turn it off just because I think it's ugly. Well, that's not ideal. Okay, well, I'll turn it off and then I'll go. Then you can't label it, which is frustrating because I don't want those filters on there. All right, well, maybe just kind of stuck with that. All right, so what I'm going to then do is I'll just go here. I'll do this. I'm going to put the field labels back on just because I like it. I like to see that kind of piece. Later on, if we're building it, we may go through. But I'd also like to see a percentage breakdown of this. So again, I'm going to pull this variable in, and it's going to make no sense. Why would you have count? And why did this go away from centered? Well, it's just defaulting to that. So we're going to have to go through and tell it we want something else. And you can do calculations in this, just like you're going to see calculations in Tableau. We'll do this drop down here and we'll do value field settings. Again, max, you're just going to click the I button. So I'll click value field settings and then we're going to change it up. We're going to go into this tab to show the valuation and tell it, hey, do a calculation for me. And so for us, we want it to do the grand total. There are other times when we would go across horizontal or vertical, but for now, we'll just go here. And then I will change this to something just basics like percent. And you may have to title it. I can't remember. Sometimes it's yelled at me here. All right, but then I have kind of a breakdown. And even here, like I could make little notes to myself, like I should review if 16% matches industry standards, or like how do we compare? All right, so I'm thinking about questions I could ask. If I want to know a little bit more about them outside of just how much data I have, maybe if I want to see like, let's see if there's a difference in maybe the credit limit. So let's go down, I'll drag, oops, I will take credit limit, I will drag it and drop it. It always starts with sum, excuse me. We don't want sum because we only have 1600 here and we have 8500 here. And so as I go through, I need to make sure I modify this to be average. So I'm going to do the drop down, value field settings, and I'll do average, and I'll do, I'll probably just title it average credit limit. I'll do okay. Sometimes the titles kind of yell at us. And again, this is hideous, so I want to kind of format it. And so, okay, well, I'll go in, I can do my formatting. I can either do general for accounting. I typically prefer finance, but that's or not finance, a currency. But that's up to you and how you want. And I already see like, well, it looks like my existing customers have larger average credit limits. Now, do I know if that's a specific? No, but I would go through. What else could I do? Let's look at how much of that credit. So again, I could go forever and just kind of play around this kind of exploration phase. But I'm going to do average credit utilization. I'm going to bring it down. It starts as a sum. And so I would do this drop down, value field settings. For this one, I want the average. So it's technically the average of average credit utilization. So I'm just going to streamline this to be a little bit more careful. I'll be okay. I will do, doesn't like that. So sometimes it doesn't like the word average. So I'm going to do AVG. I'll do okay. If I do that, I'm going to go up here and be consistent. AVG. Something of this nature. Hey, and then again, this is a ratio. It's a percentage, so I want to display it that way. I want to make it as easy as possible. So I will do the percentage. I'll probably show 2 decimals, and then I'm starting to get a better picture. Like, hey, look at this. Like, I have these credit limits where I have, it looks like lower credit limits, and they're utilizing less credit. So maybe that may be an early indicator. I could bring in all sorts of other kind of ways to filter this. Right? And so I could bring in like, okay, can we filter it by card type? You could also do it by rows. No, I don't want to do that. Maybe I'll bring it down by, I think it's because I have it on filters. No. Let's try yes. Let's see what happens. Yeah, but then like the table gets crazy.
It gets wonky quickly. This one I think is a little bit easier to see, maybe with some conditional formatting. That may be interesting, but there are other ways to kind of play around with the data. So I'm going to pull card type out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of add in another way to mess around with things that is typically reserved for categorical things. So I'm going to create what we call a slicer, or I'm going to include it. So under this pivot table analyze sheet, you should see an option to do insert slicer. And again, you typically only want this to be categorical things. And so I'm going to do card type, client sex, education level. Let's stay with just those three. It gets a little bit overwhelming if you do more, right? But then what you have are these, what we call kind of slicers. And there's a little bit kind of gamification here of these things. And so it lets us go through and look at things. Now, for most of these, we want to be kind of careful here. For the education level, again, for use one, what they allow you to do, right? If you click on it, you'll notice the visuals go and they automatically update. To do multiple select, you can click this and then you do that. You can also have hold this and hold control and click and do multiple ones. But it updates each time you're clicking on it, which is fantastic as you go through. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to check all of these as we go through and make sure they're all on there. I will, because I don't have multi-select on. And again, these may look a little bit different on a Mac and PC, but they allow you to kind of go through and sort of gamify or modify how you utilize this thing. Usually I'll put the slicers on the top of something. So I would kind of insert some cells here. It's probably still not tall enough. I could possibly, I may fit these things. I may go to, honestly, what I probably should do is I'll go to the biggest ones here, and then I'm going to hold shift, click on these, move them up. I probably should have done this a little bit before. Let's see if this works. Right click, insert as we go through. So it looks a little bit wonky. So I'm going to undo, Control Command Z. Let's just leave them like this. Maybe actually what we can do is we can put some instructions on this piece. So I like to go do insert, and then I do a text box. And I go through, and then I drag across something that I make. And I would spend a little bit of time cleaning this up. I don't think you all need to. Then you could just kind of walk through. And sometimes I'll go through and I'll make like the black kind of theme here. Then I'll use a white text or something of like that, where it's like, use the slicers below to explore attrited. Let's make sure I spelled that right. ATT, I did not. ATT, attrited versus existing customers by card type, sex, and education level. And I always have to remind myself if I'm giving people directions, so I'm going to make this like a little bit bigger so it's easier to read. But I go through and I do the review tab and I do spell check, and I still got it freaking wrong. So I'll change it and do okay. Something of that nature. If you really want it to kind of feel like a dashboard, another thing that you can do is, let's see if this works. If you do the whole data and you kind of do some background here, it makes the charts a little bit uglier. What I've seen other people do is they'll just go to the view tab, and if you like dark mode, you could do that and then turn off the grid lines, and it's a little bit easier, a little bit cleaner. I'm going to rename this pivot table and chart. And what I want you to do, right? So student to do. What I want you to do is build a pivot table and chart with at least two slicers showing one outcome between, let's say, a trided versus existing customers on this sheet. So that's what I'm going to leave for you to do. Now, to be as easy as possible, what you could do is go here, copy, maybe paste, and then I don't want all of these. And I want something useful. I don't want in or percent. I want what may be kind of different, revolving balance. Let's say you're not allowed to use, not allowed to use any variable in this table except for the slicers. So you can use the same slicers if you want, but I want this, I want some different outcome. Again, I only want one, and then I want a pivot chart with it. Again, if you don't remember, pivot table analyze, once you have it kind of built, do a pivot chart, and then make sure you clean it up. Now, I wouldn't do this one, right? But things that I would want, when you're on here, I would go to this one. I would turn off the field buttons. Mac people, you won't see these, but it should only be one outcome. This should be professionally labeled. I generally don't like the grid lines. If you put the label on top, you may not need this. I do want a dashboard title on there. So please do that. That's going to be kind of the last to do thing that I want you to go through and do. All right, so I'm going to delete this. And then let me just think under this view tab again. It can get a little bit ugly if you can't see. If you're ever working through tutorials, this focus cell is really nice because it allows you to change where you kind of show. Now it gets a little bit confusing when you're kind of using things, but that can be kind of helpful. You don't have to have the grid lines like this. You don't have to be in dark mode. I do like no grid lines. It's a little bit cleaner and they can go through. And you're not going to have to write anything about it. You'll use that maybe to help you with the Tableau piece, but that'll be the end of the Excel work. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. I have some very, very basic notes. No, I think that looks good. If you want to go through, it would be nice. Like what I would do is I would go through here, things like these. I know that these would, actually, I want you to do this for sure. Make this either a currency or accounting, spending change. I know that this is a ratio, total transactions, that's a count. Oh no, that's the amount. So that would also be a currency, count, spend change. Let's go look. Spend change, that's a ratio, count. This is a ratio too, even though it says count. That's a bit odd. So if I know that and it's a ratio, like here and this, and then I think there's one more, spend change. This I would go ahead and format as a percent. These are interesting because this is from Q4 to Q1. So this is basically saying they spent 65 or they spent 65% less in Q1 versus Q4, where these people, whoa, like they're buying a bunch of brand new New Year's stuff. So really cool stuff there. Yeah, label those, counts, dependents, age. I think those are fine. 10-year. Yeah, everything else looks good. The last thing I would do is I would try to order these so that they're more intuitive, which I think we may have to be a little bit careful with. Okay, bear with me. We're going to go deep in to the rabbit hole here for about 3 minutes. So what I want to do is, to make our life a little bit easier, I'm going to go create a new sheet. And then what I need, I'm going to take this pivot table, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to go over to sheet 2, I'm going to paste it. And then I don't really want to try it, I want by that education level instead. And then I'm going to drag everything else out because I don't care about it. What I really want is the ordering from smallest to largest. And so I would do probably unknown first. Which if I click on it, I got to be kind of careful. All right, so I'm going to move it up. Actually, an easier way to do this would be let's copy, let's paste, and then I'll put it in the order that I want. So I want copy. So I'm going to copy unknown. Then I'm going to do uneducated. And then I'm going to do high school. I should do something to copy, tag on it, copy, paste. Then I'm going to do, so I got high school done, uneducated, unknown. All right, so I'm going to actually just pull this over here, college, and then usually it's going to be graduate, postgraduate, and then doctorate. And then I need to actually create a list. Yeah, it makes sense. So I'm hoping this looks consistent on Macs and PCs. If it doesn't, Mac people let me know. But I'm first going to copy this, and then I'm going to go to File. We're going to go to Options. Then we're going to go to Advanced. And then we're going to go all the way down. And then we're going to find Edit Custom List, right? Edit Custom List. And this is one where we're going to actually have to import one, which it's already what I highlighted. If not, if you go click it and then select it, that should work. And we're going to do OK. And then we'll do OK again. And now you're going to go back to this pivot table and you'll be like, damn it, it didn't work. But it's because I didn't put it in there before. And I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try. There's two ways. So I could do this pivot table analyze refresh, because that refreshes the data, which it doesn't do. So I'm just going to delete this. Then I'm going to go back to pivot table analyze, and I'm going to do slicer, and I'm just going to select, where is education level? I'm going to do OK. All right. Still doesn't want to put it in the order that I want it to. Okay, I figured out I didn't hit import apply. So again, you'll go back, you'll go to options, you'll go back to advanced, scroll all the way down, edit custom list, and then I'm gonna delete this one. Okay, then what you'll do is here I'll have to go to sheet 2. I will then do this, enter. I then have to do import. Then I do OK. Then I do OK again. Then when you go back, pivot table analyze, insert slicer, I'll get back card type, client sex, and education level. You do OK. Then you've taken it to a whole nother level to make the user's life 1,000 times easier. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So fantastic work here, team. Do this last piece for me. You can put it on a new sheet. I think I can go ahead and delete this as you go through. And once you're done with that, unpause this and we'll move into the Tableau piece. But great work on the Excel piece, and I hope this was helpful. So let's transition into Tableau, and I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach to this one. Please note, I generally like to have my data up. That way I can kind of see everything, just so if I am going to be kind of comfortable later on, or if I want to create variables, which I may show you how to do in Tableau, we can do that. So obviously I need to go find that data. So it is an Excel file, so I'll click on Excel and then I'll go find it. Right, once I get it, it's going to take a little bit of time to load. Again, we're going to select that use data interpreter if you have it. If you don't have it, that's okay. It's just most of the time when there's multiple sheets, it does. And then since we combined everything onto this one sheet, and I'm obviously not going to try and bring in a pivot table or chart into Tableau, I should only need this financial and demographic. So I'll bring it, I'll drop it. Again, I'll let it kind of think. I generally will do kind of a quick overview just to make sure things look right. You can actually do some kind of formatting kind of pieces here if you wanted. So something like credit limit, it has number already, which is what we kind of want. I think you can do you can create, I'll talk about calculated fields here in a little bit.
You can also create groups and bins and stuff like that if for some reason you knew you wanted to. Um, if on the other hand, like later we may mess with these here, you could go ahead and change aliases. You could actually do a little splitting. We don't want to do that, but I want to at least show you kind of some options that we have. If this were somehow different, you'd go in, you can kind of change it. You can change it if it is a URL. It's usually good at picking that up. We don't have any of those kind of things, but I want to at least show you there's lots of kind of hidden stuff to go under here. But let's go into the new worksheet. So we'll click on sheet 1, and then I'm actually going to go a little bit backwards. So instead of creating like a visual, and I'm not going to create a dashboard for you on this one. So you're going to create 2 dashboards for me. Exploratory and explanatory. So I'm actually going to set up kind of a roadmap here. So I'm actually going to go and click this dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and right click, or maybe I'll double click, depends, and just rename this like explanatory dashboard. And then I'm going to create another one here. I'm going to right click, I'm going to rename, and I'm going to call this exploratory dashboard. Make sure that's okay. You can kind of go ahead. I'm going to just have the dashboard titles on just so I have them. Not sure why it's kind of not on here. Just restarted. I don't know why my Tableau would be kind of slow. All right, so we kind of see these. I'm going to go ahead and I'll start with kind of automatic sizing that it's kind of on. So again, yours may look a little bit different, but I'll again do range automatic in this case. And then I'll kind of talk about ways that we can go ahead and link these. So you already know the story kind of feature of this. But there's another way to link it, and it's kind of a really nice, interesting kind of useful way to kind of, I don't know, play around with kind of dashboards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in here, hopefully. Sorry, mine's going a little bit slow. I will probably rename this later. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a button up here where it navigates me to that exploratory dashboard. And right now, because I want it to kind of stay up in the top right and I don't want to mess around with the tiling, I'm going to go down here on the left and I'm going to change it to floating. And then if you go through, you should see this navigation. And so I'm going to bring this up and kind of maybe drop this here. And I do not know why this is going so slow, but it starts kind of default this way. Which I think is okay now. It doesn't do anything when it's kind of default up to here. I would want to make sure I kind of see everything. But what we have to do is first, we're going to just drop down and we're going to edit the button. And we're going to tell it, well, where do we want to navigate to? Well, we want to navigate to the exploratory dashboard. And you can have it as text. If you wanted to like bring in an image, I'll leave that kind of up to you. You can do that kind of piece on it. I do like to title it and note that it does need to fit in this box. And so I would do it something like very like clear. So it's going to go to the let's see, I'm on the explanatory. So this would be, I don't know, we'll say exploratory, INALYSIS. We can mess with the font. So this one I may make a little bit. I am going to bold it. It will make the button black, sorry, so I should do that kind of piece. There's no border. I'm going to put one on just to kind of, so it kind of pops out from other things. And so in this case, I'll keep it as a black border and I'll do apply. And then the tooltip again is when you hover over. So I would say like something like click here to navigate to the exploratory dashboard. And make sure that makes sense. And we're going to hit apply. And now you'll see the button will change to black. And so I like that piece because now I do okay. And I think this is on Macs and PCs, but if you hold Alt and click, if you click it, note it takes me to the other dashboard, right? So if I'm on here, if that doesn't work for you, it may be like Command or something on a Mac. You can always go into presentation mode, and I don't know why My computer is, for some reason, putting it on a different, let's see if this is going to work. Here, so now you can kind of test it this way. You won't see the by Tableau stuff, but then if you click, it kind of takes it over there. And so that is a navigation button, which is really nice. And I may make my life a little bit easier because now that I have it, I'm going to click back to exploratory. Where did the button go? Explanatory, there we go. So I'm actually going to click here. I'm going to delete this one. Right click, going to delete. And then I'm actually going to right click, and it went away because obviously I deleted it. So I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'll rename this one. This will be exploratory dashboard, and then I'll try and save myself some time by copy. Oh, it's already in there. I am going to have this first because generally I like the exploratory, then the explanatory. But then I just need to modify the button. So I'll go in here. I'm on the exploratory, and so I would want to do this, edit button. And then I'm going to say, take me to the explanatory, and then I need to obviously change this to be explanatory. And then here, I'll change this. Explanatory, right, and do apply, and then we'll do okay, and then click on it, I hold Alt and click, and it takes me to the explanatory. So to get back, I'll do this, I will edit, and then I'll just say, take me back to the exploratory dashboard, and I'll do apply, I'll do okay, then it'll let the user kind of use that. So I really like buttons in that sense. We can also use them in kind of a different way to show information. And so something like what's in there, what could be useful, how to navigate it, data source, stuff like that that's kind of hidden that we may want to put in. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in sort of a different type of box. So this is going to be a text box. And then I'm going to make it sort of with a show hide button. And then we're going to get it to be a little bit creative. And so I'm again going to be on floating. Let's be on the exploratory dashboard one. I will then go, it's going to bug me that this dashboard title is unchecked and checked. I will bring out a text box. Again, I'm going to keep it floating for right now, but I'm going to go up here. I'm going to drop it. And then I'm just going to put, this will help me give the user more info about the data slash case. Something of that kind of nature where you could put like the objective, something like this, and then we could put data source, maybe like current date. And I'm going to change these up a little bit. So I'm going to make these maybe black. And I'll do okay. And it's going to look ugly early on, but that's okay because I'm going to click off of it really quick. And I'm going to click back on it so you can kind of see where it's going to be. So let's get clicked back on it. And we may have to be a little bit careful here. If you get kind of stuck in the boxes on where it is, you may need to go and like it will give you the various kind of pieces. This has the hierarchy. You can move them if you wanted, but if you need to be kind of clicked on things, the layout is a much easier, maybe faster way than just clicking and hoping on that piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down here. I'm going to click this little drop down, and then I'm going to do, where is it? Add show hide button. So I'm going to do show hide button. And then I think when you first do this thing, it's going to be, I don't know why my thing, it comes as this little X here. And it's kind of hideous, but we're going to make it a little bit more useful. So I'm going to move it out here just so I can kind of mess around with it. And then I'm going to do the drop down. I'm going to do edit button. Okay, so lots of stuff here. It can be an image like you have. It can actually be text where it's something like, so when the item is shown, we can have the button basically say like hide information.
and then we'll do apply, and then when you'll see, it's going to go. It's too small right now, so let me do okay. I'm going to make this thing this way. All right, so something like this, and it looks very similar because it is a button, and again, it's ugly early on. So I'm going to do edit button, and then when the item is hidden, you can do something like click to learn more, something like that. And again, we'll apply, we'll do okay. And right now, it's going to leave it as high. But when you hold Alt and click on it, again, my computer's moving a little slow, you have it so it says click to learn more. And again, you may make this a little bit smaller. It kind of depends on where you want it. So I may, and I kind of am going to be strategic here in how I do this. So I'm going to hold Alt click again. And then I've got to click back in the text box. So I'm going to move this and kind of format here. And sometimes I'll do this on a rogue dashboard. That way it's a little bit easier. But the way that I'm going to kind of have this thing work is maybe I'll keep it black. I'll close this. I'm going to do here, and then I'm going to do format text object. Oh, it has the alignment. It's not what I want. I should be able to, as I'm clicked in it, let me make sure I have the padding, my background, let me see, make sure I'm going to do a light gray, something there. There you go, just so it kind of, it pops out a little bit more and is a little bit kind of cleaner. And then, depending on how you want this, and again, I just know that this is kind of ugly right now, you can have it kind of pop up maybe here where it's then in a space, and I may just make it like this. You can do kind of the washout on it, so like it can be kind of opaque. So if there are visuals behind it, it doesn't kind of cover them up entirely. And I'll show you here in just a little bit what else, because I actually like using an information button. So if I go here and I do the edit button, I could have when the item is hidden, actually when the item is shown, I just want to do an image and I do apply, and it's just this X. You can read in additional images, you just have to choose them. So same thing when I have, so I'll go back to text, I'll do apply, and then I'll do when the item is shown, when the item is hidden, I'm going to go to image, I'll do apply. I don't mind this kind of, that's not what I want. I want this one where it changes to an image. Let's go back. I'll do okay. I will then Alt click. It's something like this. This is kind of the universal sign, but I kind of like information buttons. So I would go, honestly, and you can design your own. I would jump into Google and just put like image PNG, not image, information image, and PNG is big time because it needs to be kind of on the back. You can do sorting and stuff of that nature. Let me see, type, I don't want that, more. I know that I can go through, let's do advanced search, and then I will go in and I'll do image type. It's supposed to be file type. Let's do only PNGs. We'll do advanced search. And then you should really be looking for something like this, where it has the background of this nature. Now, we'll see. So I'm going to do save image as. And I have this kind of in different places. So I'll put it in my downloads folder. I'll do save. And we'll just have to see. A lot of times you just have to play around with this. And so this is where I would do show, not show, well, I can do that. But I want to actually hide. And then I'm going to do edit button. And then I have when the item is hidden, I want it to be an image, but I'm going to choose that image. And then I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and I'm really going to hope this is not going to work. You'll see that background which is not what I want. So a lot of times this takes a little bit of kind of playing around with. You got to be careful. You don't want things to be kind of pixelated. So let's try this again. Save image as. Sometimes you have to download it. Save. And I'll upload one to D2L that you can kind of use that I find. See, you can kind of see the background there. It may be that I'm doing what I shouldn't do, is that I'm clicking. So let's try this one. Open, apply. You can still see it. So I'll try one more time with us. Then I'll just find one for us. And again, you can find one if you really like. I really like this one, so I'm going to click on it. All right, sometimes just make sure you're not getting any kind of spam or anything like that. I don't really want to download because usually that's what happens. You know what? Let's go to Claude here. Create an information symbol PNG I can download. Should just be a simple I that indicates you can click on it to learn more. And you may, they should all be good enough now. Gemini and ChatGPT should do the same thing as you go through. I'm not going to make you watch this. All right, so it initially gave me this, but I'm going to prompt it to give me something nicer. All right, so I got one that worked, right? Just the I button. Again, you can resize. I would be careful, make sure that there's no kind of crazy stuff in the background. If you want to generate your own, perfect. I'll ask probably Claude to make me a few more that are high resolution. I'll upload those if you want to use them, but it's up to you. You can find ones that you really like. And so, again, I would resize this and all of these kind of pieces, but now we should probably build some visuals to put in these things. I just wanted to show you those little kind of tricks. You can actually make any kind of container show hide. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense sometimes, but they can be kind of useful. Okay, so now I want to actually build some visuals with you. If you're a color person, I like to go ahead. You can actually add colors to these. Like I can make this blue, I can make this red. So it's easier to kind of get back to early on. That we'll need. Note that you can actually make buttons as well. So if you want to use that image trick, you can. Now, we have a little bit of a harder type of variable that we're working with now. This customer status, active and non-active, again, yours may be a little bit different because your renaming may have been different, but it's whatever that it's meant to be kind of attrited or non-attrited. So this is a dichotomous thing. It's a yes, no, and it's just words. And so you're going to have to be creative with the visuals that you make for this thing. Make sure you are using the assignment. So for that assignment, let me make sure I can kind of pull it up and we can talk through. You'll want to avoid making a bunch of visuals with the required filters. So I want the gender, education status, and marital status filters across. So I wouldn't start with those variables out because later on you'll want to do it. So I'm going to build maybe just a couple small visuals and show you some cool things in here and how you need to be careful with this variable. So I'm going to start again. I want a table, kind of like a pivot table that we saw in Excel, where I can just show the viewer my attrited and existing customer here. So what I'm going to do is that variable is here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring it out. And it is Word, so it is kind of odd that it's going to do that. I can go to show me and have a table, and it's like, all right, what do you want here? That's what we're going to kind of put on the text. And I'm pretty sure you could probably drag it up here and then click table, and it's just like, I don't know what to do. And so we're going to have to be more strategic in how we tell Tableau to work. And so we're going to tell Tableau to come over here, right, and I want you to be text. And it's going to try and just say the words here. But we can do calculations within this. So I'm going to do this drop down, and I'm going to do, instead of how I treat it normally, I'm going to do a measure, and I'm going to start with count. Then it counts the number of customers that we have. Now, I generally want to see this. I'm kind of thinking about this going across the top of my table. So I may do something where I kind of flip this, and then I can kind of resize. Early on, we can do like fit width. It's really kind of small. If you don't like that, you can go to standard and then Control Shift or Command Shift if you're on a Mac, and then the letter B kind of goes through here. And here's where you're gonna have to be careful. We already have customer status, right? It's whether it's tried versus existing. And so I don't really need this. I don't really need sheet one either. And so I'm gonna hide this and I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna hide this. And then I'm again gonna start pushing you to always think about kind of formatting. And it may be odd to kind of format in here and then also have to format later, but I wanna see this kind of just talk through kind of things that I would like to see. So I'm gonna click somewhere up here and then we could go to worksheet and you can do a lot of things. Like if I wanted to bring back the title, I could bring that back. If I wanted to, I don't know why this doesn't work, but sometimes if I wanted to bring that other title back, I would go here and I would do, where are you? Show header. Oh, it's not what I want. Undo. It should be that field label that I want back. Let's do worksheet. There are captions. You can put notes. I think I have to. Okay, I knew there was a way. I just had to hop on Google. Analysis. Now it's under the analysis. I don't know why it wouldn't be under the actual worksheet tab. But you can do analysis and you can do table layout, show these field labels. Again, I don't care about them, so I'll hide that off. I will also hide the title, and then I would do things like make this bigger and more centered. And so up here, I would right click, I would format this, and then again, you have to be kind of careful of where things are. So header, I want to be clicked on the text where we're at, may kind of modify things. Again, if you're ever not sure, again, just go into format. I'm not actually sure where this is, but we're not working with any totals. I'm trying to think alignment. So I'm in the header pane and in the panes. I would probably want to align these center as well. Which I'm not sure why that doesn't want to do that. So I'll go into here and then within the sheet, I should be able to do. I want alignment, which is this tab, and then default is not what I want. So somewhere in that kind of piece. Then you can go kind of deeper into the font where, let's see, on the header, maybe I want this to be, let's do 16, hit enter. And then I'll do within the pane, I'll do maybe 12 and do okay, or maybe 14, do okay. So at least I have a count. And so I'm honestly just going to go ahead, rename this and do in. And I'm going to show you something else. So I'm going to right click and then duplicate this. And then I'm going to rename this as a percent. Rather than try and put them in the same table, you can. It's just I'll let you kind of get creative with that. But you can actually do calculations. So I'm going to do this drop down here and what it's displaying. And it looks like measured count, and obviously wouldn't want distinct. It's going to be 1 and 1. You could do the maximum. I don't actually know what that would do. Yeah, it just goes back to text. So I'll undo. But I'll do what we call quick table calculations. And then because it's only 2, you could do percent of total, and then you also have the percentages. Again, you could try and do this with both of them. I'm not really sure how that would go. So I would go here, and then maybe do the drop down. And you do, again, measure. So first you have to make it a, so I want you to, again, be here. And first, instead, I'm going to change this to be, it looks like it doesn't want to do them together. Maybe I can put them up here, and then do this drop down, and then do count distinct. Now it wants to put it as a bar graph, which makes no sense. But then we'll do quick table calculation, percent of total. Try and put that onto text. That's not going to work. I want another level of this here. But there's no way to do a quick table calculation without it.
Let me see if I can. I know there's a way to do it. So I'm going to do measure. Let's change it to an attribute first. It's not going to work because it needs to be a measure. Because measure is an uncheck ignore calculations. Measure. There's count distinct, but quick table calculation, percent of total. And then if I do back to compute using, it's hard because I want, here we go. Now we can do just count. There we go. And then I have the percentages together. So up to you, again, some kind of playing around, which this is now going to be in percent. And again, you don't have to follow along with all these because I'm not going to create a dashboard with you. It's just what you may want to put in there. You can kind of play around. And so what I would do on whichever one of these that you're, I'm going to copy this because I messed that up, percent. And I will right click. And it doesn't like that I'm doing a bunch of clicking. I got to be careful. Right click, rename, in N percent. Just being kind of cautious. So maybe you want it to be something like this. Again, you don't have to have them both in there. Then, if you want to kind of help yourself out, that's not what I want. What's this? If you go to the assignment, you know I'm going to ask for gender, education status, and marital status filters. So honestly, you could just go ahead and, let's see, I would do customer sex. So I would do that, and I would right click, and you could drag it on. But all you really have to do is once you go to here, you can just do show filter and it puts it all over there. I would then do education level, show filter. Let me see what else. Education and marital status. So marital status, click here. And then we could do show filter. Sorry, my brain's moving a little bit, kind of slow. You can keep them ugly right now. Or if you have a way that you kind of want to kind of move them, you can. So I would do something like this. This one I may do a multiple value drop down. Same thing in this case. In terms of moving around the ordering of these, I believe you can do, let's see if it's customize or edit. Edit filter, select up here. So I think you have to do it on the left, and so I'm going to do, let's do education level, and then we're going to do, I believe it is, it's not transform, default properties, and then the sort, and then this we'll have to do manual, and then we can kind of move it. So I would probably have unknown at the top, then uneducated, then maybe high school, and then known, educated, high school, college, doctorate, graduate. So it's usually going to be, I think this will be the top. All right, and then we do that, and then you notice that it's ordered over here, which is really nice because it's then intuitive. And then we can do maybe multiple value drop down, and I'll make sure again you're saving. I've already saved once and I didn't show you, but I'll save that overall. And so this is just knowing the customers. Again, building visuals can be a little bit tougher, and so maybe I'll do something where usually I'm bringing out this thing first, and I can still do that. But then I'm going to think, okay, excluding these factors that I'll be able to filter on later, what might I want to look at and how? And so maybe I want to look at something like, maybe I think number of, I don't really care about dependents right now. Maybe I think customer contacts in the past year. All right, so I'm going to do this here. And again, I don't want to sum them because again, I'm going to have way more on attrited versus non-attrited. So again, I'm going to go here. I'm going to do the measure. This I would do maybe count. And you can see, I don't want count because I probably want, this is where I would probably want to measure average, so average number of. So now it actually looks like my attrited ones are, maybe I have more contacts with them.
And maybe I would want to look across, again, another categorical piece on this. So maybe I also, instead of marital status, education level, and client sex, maybe I care about card type. So I would drag that and put it up here. And then it kind of splits it this way. Or you could do to the right here of this piece. In terms of how you want to kind of show it, I may honestly, like if I'm thinking kind of cleaning these things up, I again will hide this. I'm gonna hide this title. I may have to be a little bit more strategic here. I would right click format. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of all the grid lines. I know it says none on sheet, but you still have to go to rows and columns and make sure they're all off. But then I want kind of the same thing. So maybe I would want to show that count on top of here. Instead of dragging from the left, you can actually hold control. It may be command on a Mac and put that and drag from there and put it on the left. I don't think it makes sense to show that many decimals. So then I could drop into here. I could do format, and then I can do the number. It's not a currency, but I still want to customize it. Maybe 2. I think that looks relatively nice. But overall, you can kind of see, well, my attrited versus existing, my existing ones, I have less contacts on there. So that could be kind of a warning sign. You could kind of modify this so that you have some sort of like your client status based upon color. If you want to like send that kind of splits, you could hold control, drag it down to color. I would probably use different colors to kind of show it. And then you could do things like analytics in this. I may not need this axis, but it's not intuitive what I'm looking at right now without a title. And so this may be one where I actually want to bring back the title. So I'll do a show title. So I'll do something like average number of contacts by card and customer type. And again, you can format and play around if you want. I'll do okay. Then I would just do, I could uncheck the header and not have to deal with that. Then I could make it a little bit cleaner to kind of show. You can bring in this average line where I could do the whole table and you get something like this. I'm going to undo, Control Z. I could do it by, I wouldn't want to do it by each cell because that would make no sense, but I could do it by pane, and then you can see that there's clearly a difference across these two, that you have something like that. So that may be kind of an interesting one to look at, and then you could break it down by client sex, education level, marital status, until you find kind of something really kind of interesting there. So I'm going to rename this maybe, let's do let me show you an interesting one. So you could get to bar graphs. That's kind of hard to look at. You could also kind of modify this. So I've shown you the show me piece of this. There are other options that you can kind of play around with. I've seen some people play around with kind of the shapes and stuff. I think that's a little bit harder, especially because when I've seen it, it doesn't split it really well. So you can do other things. So you can kind of change the different marks here, where maybe instead of showing it this way, if I do a circle chart, maybe that's a little bit easier and a little bit kind of cleaner. And again, you can kind of play around with this thing, just drag it over, and maybe it would be cool to see it like this. You could undo. Let's see if I drag card type down here. That may be interesting across each one. That's pretty cool. That would be a cool little vertical visual if it was kind of formatted correctly. You can also do things where you can combine these together. I think, let me think about how we want to do this. If I do this drop down, and I kind of want to do, it may be in the actual visual itself where I have to right click. Let's try here, where I want to do kind of a dual axis piece. So I kind of want to stack these on top of one another. Maybe I don't actually need this on the visual if that's the case. Boom, right there, where I can see existing customers versus attrited. Now, you can't use the average line on that because it's going to go back to that one pane. So it's kind of up to you. So interesting things that you can kind of see here. So I'll rename this, um, let's see, a try verse current by card type and contacts, something of that kind of nature. You can create another one here where maybe you wait. Now it always needs to have some level or connection of this. Maybe you bring that into color and then it will stay consistent throughout. But maybe you want to look at something like, I don't know, let's look at what we could do. I'll kind of show you if you wanted to do a comparison across one another. We could do something of, let's stick with card type. I think that's an interesting category to kind of look across. And then maybe something like number of dependents could be in here. And then we'll do measure average. And then what I'm going to do is I'll bring this onto color, our kind of status. And then it kind of starts as a stacked. And I did want to show you this. And so it looks like this thing should count up to 4.5, which is not the case here. Notice that when you hover over, it's 2.39, 2.32, which is odd, right? And so you want to kind of think about those kind of pieces. So what I would probably do is, and it's just a thing with stacked bar charts, I would do control, I would hold this and I would drag this onto labels. And then I would go ahead and I would just get rid of this. So I would uncheck the header and it's a little bit easier. I would probably format this. So I would format, I would do numbers, I would do a custom. I don't really know what a 0.2 per, but if it rounds to the whole numbers, it may not make sense. I would right click, I would hide, I would right click, I would format, I would go back, none, none, just to kind of see that piece. Now, if, so I'm going to do maybe number dependence versus status, something like that. Let's say I wanted like a bar chart for one and then a bar chart for another, and I show the same visual. So what I'll do is I'm going to create one more visual here, and then I'm going to leave you all to it. I'm going to look at maybe, this is tough. So I'll do credit limit, and then I'll do here, measure average. And then I'll bring out card type again, just so we're kind of being consistent. I'll probably flip it, and then we'll have to be kind of careful with our color here. So let's go ahead, format. Let's go ahead and I'm going to hold control, click, bring it down to label. This is a currency, so I would do, again, format. Now this would be a currency. This is in thousands, so I would actually do custom and do 0 decimals. And then right click. Let's see. I'll do format. I'll go here. I'll make sure we don't have our grid lines on, something like that. I'm going to hide the label. I'll keep this on here for now, just because it's an interesting one. I would probably go ahead and organize this biggest to smallest, whatever you kind of think makes sense. And then it depends on how you want to show it. So if you wanted to show difference in credit limits, you could hold again control and bring, and again, you could bring it from the left as well. Then what I may do something where I have customer status, where I bring this in and I just do existing customers and I do apply and I do okay. Now I'm going to title this, right? And so I'll do rename, so credit limit, existing customers. And then what I'm going to do is let's also do analytics average line onto table. I'm going to right click. I'm going to then, let's do edit. I'm going to do, instead of just the computation, I'm going to do custom. So I'll do average credit limit equals, and then I'll have it be the value. And then I'm going to, don't want to do any fill above or below. I'll do okay. But then I'm going to right click. This is where I'll format. I would do little things with the line. It kind of depends on what you think. Maybe I make it, I'm not going to change the color. If it's existing colors, I may match it to what it is. But then my alignment, I'm going to move it to the right. That way it's kind of a little bit cleaner and easier to see, especially if I make this thing here. So then I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate. And then I'm going to rename this. You can kind of guess where I'm going to go. This is going to be Attrited, Attrited customers here. Then hopefully, so that'll go here. Then I'm going to right click. I'm going to edit the filter. And I'm just going to flip it, right? I'll do apply. I'll do OK. Now, if you do this, you need to kind of be consistent. And I'll show you what I mean. Notice this legend, 6,800, 7,499. I want to make sure I'm not kind of cheating the viewer. And so you actually have to go in and you're going to lock both this. So this goes up to 32,000. So let's do edit axis. We're going to do custom. And then let's go to just 30, let's do 35, comma, 1, 2, 3. All right, I'll do that. And then I need to do the same thing, right click, I'll go over here, edit axis, we'll do custom 0 to 35, 1, 2, 3, do this, close. All right, and then, so that way when I put them on the dashboard next to one another, I can compare them. Now the same thing, I need the color to mean the same thing. And so I would probably just use this one. I would do kind of consistent numbers. I would do edit colors. I would try and do start, custom, let's do 7,500, 500. And then center, that's fine. I'll do custom. We'll do 32, 1, 2, 3, 32,000. Copy, and then I will close. So that makes sense, and I'll do here. And so a lot of people overlook that, and then the colors mean different things, which is not ideal, right? Oops, Control A, 7,500. Custom, Control A. Will be 32,000, something like that. Then what you can do is on your dashboard, you can do where you have this attrited versus existing, and then you got to be kind of careful here on this piece. Then they kind of compare across. Maybe we bring over, I don't know, let's just do the overview of what they are. I would do little things like this. If I want it to be all the way across, I would do this drop down. I would do fit. Then here I would do fit the entire view. You do kind of still have to kind of play around with it. I don't know why it's, oh, it has the title in there. Let's just delete, apply, okay. We may need to, again, be careful with your mouse. Maybe you want to pull it up this way. If you don't like these borders, which I don't love, again, you can go to this visual, right click, and you're going to format. This one's a little tougher. So this one would be probably the borders is what I'm going to look at. So I'm going to do the pane. Got to click off and make sure row dividers, none, something like that. So it looks a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer on this piece. Then you can kind of see those different ones. I would want the filters. And so honestly, I would have my filters where I would actually pull in, it makes no sense, but I'm going to pull in a vertical container right here. And then I've got to think about how I want to do this. I would do, I really want to bring the filters over. So I want to do filters. It doesn't have it on it. So I would need to, I'm going to bring over this ugly one that we created early on. I'll put it here. It comes with all the filters. Then what you can do is pull these filters into that horizontal container. And now you could drag and try and make sure these things kind of fit, but you can also go in here and you can do distribute contents evenly. And so you know they're exactly the right size. Then I think what I can do is I can do this. Oh no, I'm going to undo. Really don't want to get rid of that. So it needs to be at least with the one that I'm with, which is really sad. So I'm going to get rid of this one. I would bring this. I don't think you need the legend for this. You can look at it if you really want something of this nature. You could bring it down so it's underneath, I think, both of these. You have to be a little bit kind of careful here, where then, because again, they are the same, you can use them kind of consistently. I would go in here, drop down, fit. Let's just do the entire view, and then I'm gonna go in this, apply, okay. Then again, I may have to get kind of creative and just kind of play around with the sizing. All right, so this is just an example. You can use any of those visuals. This is an exploratory. You would be responsible for kind of formatting. There are a lot of different types of other visuals that you could go down. So get creative or play around with it. You can kind of hover over. We don't really have any time series data, so these line graphs are a little bit tougher. But I mean, you could do things where you look at credit limit versus maybe, I don't know, not really total products held. Could do like 10-year, something like that. Again, for these, you've got to remember to do like what you want to see each dot for. I would use customer ID and bring that onto detail. And then yes, we want all the members that we can kind of see it. And then, well, how do I want to see it? So right now it's credit limit versus 10-year. I think it makes sense to have more of this case. I would also almost always do measure average, measure average. Then you could do something where you have your customer status color. Please note when you change it once, right? So if I go over here and I double click, I'll make maybe a trided red, an existing, I have no idea. Let's do, I don't know why I would want, here's my color palette for the blind. Kind of want black, to be completely honest. Lightning sunrise, apply, okay. You could do something like this. Notice it changes everywhere else when you kind of do that. So you got to pick one and be consistent because it wants you to be consistent on those kind of pieces. If you do that again, maybe you also then do analytics and you bring in maybe a trend line, something of that nature to see if there's maybe a different relationship. And again, I'm just showing you kind of things that you could use. I am going to just save to be normal. Let's see. I would format this. I don't know why this. Let's see if I should do average credit lit. I don't know why. I wonder why it would do here if I do format all legends. I really want the formatting to be format this legend. You can do shading and stuff in there. I don't love that it just doesn't look nice. I'm going to bring that off of text. Hold control and bring it back onto label. I don't know why. Maybe I can do it here. Format. Numbers, tools, grand totals. Axis, numbers. There we go. The currency, and then I'll do 0 decimal, so it's a little bit kind of cleaner. And you don't need the axis here now that you kind of know what it is, right? So I could uncheck the header there, right click, uncheck the header there, and you're here, and it cleans it up just a little bit on those pieces. Okay, I've kind of thrown a lot at you here. I hope this was useful. Your job is to build a dashboard. You're not allowed to use these two visuals here. You can use this one up here. But again, if I show it to you, you're not allowed to use it. So these two you cannot use. If you want to use the other ones, that's fine. I would kind of play around, give yourself an hour, just try and create 10 visuals and think about it. It's like, it can be as easy as you can ask like whatever ChatGPT, like what things may it be able, or would you want to kind of visualize? What may be useful, what may be interesting to look at. So I showed you a couple, but I want to give you all that kind of creative freedom to go through. If you have questions, let me know. I would spend some time making this your own, formatting things, making sure it looks clean. Please be sure to review the assignment. So you need an exploratory dashboard. For your explanatory dashboard, 1 or 2 visuals, right? It could be something like even this piece, or like a visual like this, where you can show like, hey, like our people that end up leaving end up having, on average, a lot more contacts with us than not. Versus, I don't know, whatever other kind of visual that you want. I don't know that I see any kind of clear relationship with this. This may be one where I do a line graph. I don't know why. You could do an area graph. Be careful with these, just because the axis doesn't tell you anything. I don't know that a Gantt chart would really tell us much, but maybe I don't know, a density, automatic, again, whatever, again, you can kind of play around with. You can go from up here too. You could use a bubble chart as well. I would be, again, careful in terms of like what it means, what the size tells us, because that's kind of what we'd want, and like what's displayed. And I try not to display too many things. So I would use color and size to display the same thing on those various pieces. So I'm just going to keep undoing here. Okay, then you're going to save to Tableau Public for your explanatory dashboard. Hopefully you got some practice in class with that we've kind of talked through, but if you do have questions, let me know. And again, you can change the sizing and stuff. If you don't like this, change it to be a fixed size, and then you set it, right? You can make it wider, you can make it taller. If you're going to link them with a button, that's all you really have to do. Make sure it works. If you ultimately end up going to a story, it should be as easy as, well, bring in that into here. I would not have this hover within. You see how I go left and right? You need to actually go through. Maybe it will automatically work for us. So that one looks a little bit kind of cleaner. Just make your life a little bit easier. And so then have the second one on the second one. So it's up to you, again, what you show me. But I hope this was useful. Again, I want you to be creative, and let me know if you have any questions.